Chapter 22. Are you the average of the people you hang around with? Here is something else that I learned from spending time in the self development world. All of us are apparently the average of the five people we hang around with the most. If this is true, we should, of course, hang around with those who are better than us in areas where we want to improve. Their success would then somehow rub off onto us. Now, when I first heard this advice, I didn't pay too much attention to it, although it did make some sense to me at the time. I saw the value of engaging with successful people. I hired coaches, went on training courses, and was always keen to learn and grow. All this had its advantages, but the main point of only hanging out with successful people never sat right with me. Why not? Because I didn't want to cut people out of my life simply because they would bring my average down. Now, being completely honest, I did stop hanging around with some people who were on a different trajectory from me at the time. For example, one friend constantly told little white lies to the point where I didn't know what was true and what was false. I might have stopped hanging out with him anyway. Other friends gradually became more distant. Some I simply lost contact with. This is perfectly natural in the course of life. Having acknowledged this, I will say that a peculiar thing has started to happen over the past few years. I now see that the advice I was given all those years ago was actually backwards. As I started to see that I was creating my own reality and gradually let go of any misunderstandings, wonderful things entered my life. I got a dream job in London. I got paid more money. I started my coaching business and met my now wife. But I never really paid much attention to the people I was hanging out with. I now have wonderful people in my life with whom I'm close. You could say I'm the average of the five people I hang around with, but I haven't made a conscious decision to have those exact people in my life. The people I'm closest to are simply the ones with whom I spend the most time. We resonate with each other, and they became a part of my life as I lived more and more the kind of life I'd always wanted, but had been afraid to live. Some people who are very close to me now have always been close to me. In fact, some of my best friends have become closer to me as they've seen the transformation I've gone through over the past 3 years. They tell me I'm still me, but more present, calm, and a better listener. Others who were more like acquaintances have become much closer to me, and some people have become more distant. I don't know this to be a fact, but I feel that those who now I feel distant just don't resonate with the journey I'm on and how I live my life. A simple example is that I used to like partying every weekend. But even before I got married, I just felt less drawn to that way of socializing. As a consequence, my party friends and I just naturally hung out less and less. Then there are people whom I never knew existed for a few years, uh, never knew existed a few years ago, who are now very close to me. People I've met through my teachers, training courses, or online communities. If several years ago you'd asked me to choose the people with whom I should surround myself, I might have picked some of those who are in my life today, but I certainly wouldn't have picked all of them. I'm so glad of that because I could not have predicted the future, how people shift and change, what challenges appear in life, and which people would resonate the most with where I am in life today. If I had systematically chosen people around me in the hopes that doing so would lead me to success, I would have missed out on some incredible relationships with people I connect to today. Not for what they can add to my life, but simply for who they are. What's more, I believe that when we drop our misunderstandings about ourselves, we unconsciously give others around us permission to do the same for themselves. So, as we step more powerfully into our own potential through dropping our false stories and beliefs, we find others around us doing the same thing in their own lives. I'm certainly not perfect, and neither is anyone else in my life. I don't find it necessary to consciously pick and choose the people who are close to me. As I've said, this tends to happen naturally. There is no doing on my part. Once you drop your false beliefs, stories, and misunderstandings, you will start to walk the path you've always wanted to walk. Some will walk beside you and others won't. It's not your job to pick who accompanies you and who doesn't. All you need to do is just keep walking. Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? I really like that chapter. All you need to do is just keep walking. There's a simplicity to that. There's a freedom to that. And I love how Kush talks about resonating. The people who resonate with your journey, the way you're being, the way you want to live your life, are the people who are going to be attracted. Law of attraction, isn't it? Really, to be around you. There's no trying in that. I've noticed the same, that some people who were, quite a significant part of my life have, we've kind of lost touch. It's a natural thing. I didn't wake up one day and thought, "Ooh, I know what I'll do today. I'll lose touch with that person." It's just that our interests are different. It's a very normal thing. And I think what happens when what's being shared in this book really starts to be lived, you become more conscious of the way you're being. You become more conscious of what you're creating in your own life, and so your choices open up, and you can be more honest with yourself about what you really enjoy and the path that you want to follow. And that isn't necessarily the path that other people would want you to follow. So it can kind of mix things up a little bit in terms of relationships and friend groups, etc. So it's a good one. Let me know how that one lands for you. See you on the next chapter.